The team was a 2018 team from Montpellier. Is it French?
Amazing French pronunciation, yeah.
Okay.
You can name one.
I would like to introduce
FAU-GEM.
Hello and welcome to another episode of FAU-GEM. Today I will be hosting the episode. My name is Marina and I'm here together with
Maria.
And Laura.
And as you might know, our mission is to talk about different IGEM teams. So in general, we first will talk a little bit about the team itself, about the problem and the project. And then afterwards we will jump a little bit to like collaborations or specialties of the team. So concerning today's team, who wants to present the team? Maria?
Yes, sure. So they have a very interesting project name. It's called Vagineering, and I think this also already gives a hint about what it's going to be about.
Vaginas.
Thank you, Laura. Yes.
Indirectly, yes. So the team was an IGEM team from 2018 from Montpellier. They won a bronze, silver and gold medal. And also they won the IGEM Education and the Public Engagement Award for overgraduate teams. The team consisted out of 9 team members, 6 instructors. Again, many instructors for like only
very few
9
team members.
Yeah.
And 1 advisor.
Thank you for your team introduction. So, focusing on the problem. So, as Maria already mentioned, Vagineering kind of gives a hint what the problem or the project is about. So, talking about contraception. What methods of contraception do you know?
So, for once, there's hormonal contraception, obviously. So, the pill.
Yes.
Besides that, there are also condoms for males and females.
You also can have like the intrauterine device or UIV. And you can also have you can even get a hormonal ring or even, surgical sterilization even.
That's a very end term. Contraception, yes.
Or also there are contraceptive pads, for example.
Yes, right. So the hormonal pills especially was like a huge revolution for contraception for the women. But as we all know, there are a lot of problems that come together with hormonal contraception. What are like the main problems that you think of?
I think for once, like in developing countries, there's still a lack of access because obviously it's not free. And also maybe people aren't educated about contraception methods, so they don't use it really, or they have religious reasons to not use it.
I also think that there are like a lot of side effects to it. So there are also like people who are not willing to put their body kind of like exposed to this kind of side effects. Also, I think that there are women who are specifically or they cannot be prescribed the pill.
Yes, exactly. For example,
health conditions.
Yes, for example, if you have like diabetes or lupus or struggle in general with a high blood pressure, then you might not get the hormonal contraception prescribed. And yes, and also like the rather heavy side effects. That's a lot to take. And also another point that I wasn't that aware of, but there's a lot of environmental pollution that comes together with hormonal contraception. And I think there's also another IGEM team that I came across that focused the problem of getting all like the hormones out of the water again. So that's another issue. So there's another generation of pills because a lot of people have like mentioned and realized those struggled with the hormonal pills, and those pills, they have spermicidal molecules. So those are molecules that basically kill the sperm in the vagina. But still it's very expensive, and especially for developing countries the accessibility is a problem. And I think there were also some issues with some commercial spermicides, like for the vagina cells and the environment there. So our team has an idea. The idea is to have the vaginal microbia that is composed of, for example, lactobacilli, and they want to use that is like already existing in the vagina and create a long-term non-hormonal and removable contraception by engineering the vaginal microbiota.
I think it's super smart.
Yeah, same. Really clever. So this then leads to an interesting question. How is the bacterial strain removed from the vaginal environment once it has been introduced to it?
So if you like want to stop the contraception, because it's like if you have the bacteria there, it's like a long-term contraception, but if you want to stop it, then the bacterial strain is like engineered with a kill switch. That means it's depending on the pH level or the temperature in the vagina that can like switch off their function.
Okay, nice.
So for their project, they had two approaches to engineer the Lactobacillus jensenii. I hope that's pronounced somehow right. So they tried to engineer the bacteria to produce two different proteins, basically, for prevention of unintentional pregnancy. So they had for one antimicrobial peptides, AMP, and they significantly inhibit the sperm motility. And the second approach was anti-sperm antibodies. Love the term, by the way. And those anti-sperm antibodies were already like found in infertile human couples. So they are produced either by the man or the women against the sperm, leading also to immortality.
So are there like two separate approaches that hinder this motility of the sperms?
Exactly.
Okay.
So the goal of their project was to prove that the gram-positive bacteria, Bacillus subtilis, and the Lactobacillus jensenii are able to produce such spermicidal molecules and therefore can be engineered as like contraceptive method. And the vaginal microbiota would then secrete those AMPs, the antimicrobial peptides, or the anti-sperm antibodies in situ, so in the site, yes, at the site. And if that works, that would be cheaper because you just need like a little bit of bacteria done. And also there would be like those disadvantages for like the health risks and like accessibility and pollution that would probably be lower.
Yeah.
And so in their project they also had like the problem that the Lactobacillus jensenii wasn't that widely known and everything wasn't that researched about the bacteria, like for example E. coli. You know everything about E. coli, but not for the Lactobacillus jensenii. So a little side project, so to say, was to find out more about this bacteria and also sequence design and promoters for those bacteria. And yes, so the motility of the sperm was then also measured with like an analysis, because they wanted to see how effective those antimicrobial peptides or the anti-sperm antibodies were, depending on like the molecules.
And to what conclusions did they come during their project?
So sadly they couldn't like check everything because they didn't have that much time, but the conclusion was for once that the constructs worked. So the constructs for the antibodies worked in E. coli and in Bacillus subtilis, but they weren't able to do that or reproduce that in the Lactobacillus. So another result was that they checked like the efficiency of these spermicidal molecules, and one of those antimicrobial peptides is nisin, and they created a tracking software for the motility depending on the time and the nisin concentration. And they also developed like an open source toolbox for the Lactobacillus jensenii, so that other researchers can like see what they found out, what characterizations they found out for further experiments.
And what are then the future perspectives? Like, what can this be used then, or how could it be used?
So, as I said, sadly they didn't have that much time in the lab, so they thought about what the next steps would be, and they would like purify the antibodies and check for the quantity that is needed to fully inhibit the sperm motility, test other peptides like they did for Nisine with the tracking software, and also what in general their approach was that the work they did on Lactobacillus jensenii should not be restricted to contraception only, because there are like different topics where those lactobacillus could be handy for. So in general, for like therapeutic applications of the vaginal microbiome. So I read that, for example, the Lactobacillus jensenii is also used for preventing sexually transmitted diseases, so as they secrete anti-HIV molecules. So I think there's a lot of future work possible with those small lactobacilli.
Yeah, I think there is like a big field ahead of them, I guess.
So coming to our last part now, they were actually the winner of the IGEM Education and Public Engagement Award, as Maria already mentioned. Do you think, or can you think of any special human practice or education and public engagement events or whatever that they did maybe to win these award?
Record a podcast?
Or maybe conduct interviews with several industry speakers.
Good ideas, yes. They actually gave interviews for the print and news media. I think they didn't do a podcast, but they did something quite as creative as a podcast. They had a cooperation with artists, and I think that's really, really great. I think you can also check that out on their Instagram account. So they asked different questions, and the artists answered that obviously in an artistic way. So they asked questions like, what is your vision of the vulva, or what is vaginal flora, what is living inside a vagina, so that the artists could visualize that. So maybe the topic itself that is rather viewed as a taboo maybe is like spread and popularized.
I think it's amazing, and I'm quite curious to see what they draw for the vaginal flora.
Yeah,
probably
same.
Actually flowers.
Would be so cool.
But
flowers, yes, probably.
I mean, because of you say the flora thing, we as scientists probably think about the bacteria, but
Not
if you give it to an
yeah.
artist, then maybe they literally draw flowers.
Yes, and besides those one-piece pictures, they also created a comic book about contraception, vaginal flora, etc.
Would be so cool to distribute those at schools and stuff.
Yeah, actually, and what we said about developing countries that they don't have access to this kind of things, like if you put it, you're able to put it in the internet so that they could maybe access, or
easy way to teach. Yes.
And fun, like not only getting a lecture from someone telling you like contraceptive methods, but you can also have like a comic, which is kind of more interactive, fun,
creative, and like more appealing maybe, because it's like visualized and like maybe in a more easy peasy way than just like having a teacher standing in front of you lecturing you 1 hour. So that was it for today's podcast episode. Thank you very much for listening.
And stay tuned for the next podcast episode.
And follow us on Instagram.
Bye.